first person is Miss Onyemobi. She is a dedicated leader in the non-profit sector. She's committed to advancing social justice, equity, and collaborative leadership. As a professional at Ford Foundation, she plays a very vital role in shaping impactful initiatives that drive meaningful change and empower communities, championing equity and systemic change in West Africa. With a background in policy advocacy, youth empowerment, and security reforms, she has worked with Amnesty International Nigeria, Open Society Youth Initiative, and a Clean Foundation, supporting police reforms and legal assistance for victims of human rights violations. She was also a visiting scholar at the University of Michigan's Youth Violence Prevention Center, where she contributed insights on youth crime prevention. Onyinye holds a master's in human rights law from the University of Oxford and political science from the University of Lagos. She also holds a bachelor's degree in political science and philosophy from the University of Nigeria. Her work continues to shape inclusive leadership and transformative justice across communities. With a deep-rooted commitment to justice and transformation, she has cultivated a reputation as a visionary facilitator, creating spaces where voices are heard, ideas flourish, and communities unite to drive meaningful change. So, with virtual round of applause, can we please invite Ms. Onyemobi? And then the next panelist is Ms. Kuseme Ise. Ms. Kuseme Ise is a UK-based Nigerian lawyer with over 8 years of experience in corporate law, contract management, and regulatory compliance. She currently works as a contract manager at a prominent UK university. There, she negotiates complex research agreements that support impactful academic work while ensuring compliance with regulatory frameworks and sector-specific policies. In 2020, Kuseme was awarded the prestigious and highly competitive Children's Scholarship to pursue a Master's of Law in the United Kingdom, an achievement that reflects her dedication, excellence, and global impact. Beyond the courtroom and boardroom, Kuseme is passionate about helping young people unlock international opportunities and design purposeful careers. She has mentored thousands of students and early career professionals, guiding them through scholarships, academic growth, and professional development. Kuseme believes that no dream is too bold and no background too humble. Today, she's here to show us how to access and utilize global opportunities, because influence starts when you rise up and reach out. So join me as we welcome Ms. Kuseme Ise to join the panel. Right now, I will hand over to our moderator, Ms. Grace, to moderate the panel session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I believe everybody can see me now. Please confirm. Okay, yes, you can. And I'm so excited to be here. And this topic means so much for me. I mean, having been someone who has experienced a number of fellowships and working with multinationals throughout my corporate career life. So I started my career with Pfizer and I moved to Chemonix, and currently I'm with Novartis. And I've been, should I say lucky or blessed enough to find myself in two very prestigious fellowships, that the Yali Regional Leadership Center Fellowship, and currently I'm enrolled in the Elevate Africa Fellowship. So I get excited whenever I speak to people who show others the way in assessing or being granted such fellowships or such global opportunities. So I'm very excited to meet these powerful women who will today speak to us about sorry, I just changed devices. So yeah, so Sure. Apologies for that technological hitch. Yeah, so without wasting much time, our speakers have been introduced already, and I wouldn't want us to go through the process of them introducing themselves again. So we'll just dive straight in and then pick their minds on some on ways of assessing these opportunities. So I'll start with Miss Kuseme. I would like to find out from you. What has been or what was your first big access breakthrough? And what would you say helped you stand out in that moment?
Okay, thank you very much. Can you just confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, please. We can hear you.
Okay, my first big access I would say that it was when I made a first class in law school, because that really opened doors for me. And before then, I didn't think that I would be able to do all the things I have done today. But after I got the first class from law school, which was I would say it was a first time thing, especially from my alma mater, my university where I came from. There was nobody who had previously made a first class from Nigerian law school. So back in 2017, myself and my colleague, two of us, we made first class, which was like history was broken. So it was very loud, and people just started sending me opportunities. I started getting into rooms that previously I thought I would never get into. And I also was able to get into places and rooms that my first class degree opened the doors for me to get into. So it started opening up my mind to what is possible out there. So I would say that was my first big break.
Interesting. First class degree. Just last week I was speaking to a group of students and I was telling them, I didn't get the opportunity or I didn't have a first class, but I found ways and means of adding value to myself such that I can be in the same rooms with the people who had first class. And today I'm very honored that I'm interviewing somebody with a first class, even though I don't have one. Yeah, that's just on the lighter side. So yes, Kuseme, thank you so much for sharing that insight with us. Miss Onyinye, I'll come to you now. From the Ford Foundation side, what do you look out for in individuals or initiatives before you support them? Before you even answer, saying Ford Foundation, I just realized, oh, the car I even drive is a Ford. But that's just by the way. What do you look out for in individuals or initiatives before you decide to support them?
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Grace, for that question. So I think I want to start by saying that Ford Foundation is not the same as Ford Motors. However, Ford Foundation is the CSR part of the Ford Motors. So that's the connection. But to your question, I think what we look out for in a good proposal or concept note, it's a good idea. It is the idea. And I think I also want to put out something. I was reading the chats just before we were introduced, and somebody was talking about, confidence. She wants to beef up her confidence. And I want to say that global opportunities exist, and in Ford, we do not start looking at ideas from how globally shaped it is. We actually look at the originality, the authenticity, and the idea. What problem are you trying to solve? So, back to that confidence question, we actually think that you should go from local to global. Thanks to our sister that made a first class, but sometimes you don't need to be excellently excellent to start. We also find people who are trying out ideas, they are unsure of what it is they want to do. But when you look at it, you can feel the authenticity, you can feel the originality, and we can go look for the person and say, we don't mind helping you bring your dreams to life. So my point is, if you don't have confidence in what you're doing, it's a starting point. Don't feel like you have to be globally positioned to get opportunities. No, you can get it even from your local standpoint. Okay, I'll stop here.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Onyinye. One thing I picked out, you don't need to be excellently excellent. You just need to be authentic and original. And I think last week I was listening to a webinar around opportunities and assessing funds. And one of the people was saying that in one of the applications they opened, you were supposed to complete an online form. And there was this particular person who had brilliant ideas, but he just didn't have an access to the computer to even, fill the form and all that. So he printed out the form, he filled it, he looked for their office, took it there. And because of that action, when they read through his form, they realized that no, I mean, even though this guy, we said specifically everybody should fill it out online, what this guy is bringing, we cannot afford to let it go. So because of how authentic or his story he had, even though he wasn't so tech savvy, he was still accepted and they polished him up nicely. So I'm very excited about what you said, Miss Onyinye. And now coming back to you again, I want to ask you, do you think a lot of African women are represented in these global fellowships or have access to funding? And if we are not, are there reasons? What are some of the common reasons you think we are underrepresented in global fellowships or funding? So, Ms. Onyinye, you can take it, then I'll come back to Kusema.
Okay, thanks, Grace. So I would say that because of the society that we live in and the role of patriarchy that have made women's role to be, typically what they say in the kitchen, in the bedroom, in all those type of places. Historically, women did not have opportunities to sit and to be in global rooms. But that is changing. And there are many opportunities that are intentionally created to provide space for women. But what I find is that most times when you put out an opportunity, the women who apply would either not be at par with the male counterparts. And that's also why I find this conversation we are having very relevant. Some people have understand the need for equality, gender balance. So for example, in Ford, we have Ford Global Fellowship, and we are intentional about saying we will prioritize women than men because of the opportunities that already exist for men. So I'm saying that there are enough opportunities for girls, but you need to prepare yourself for those opportunities. And when you do have them, you have to come with your A game. I know that I said that you don't have to be excellently excellent, but that doesn't mean that when you have the opportunity, you will not put your best foot forward. So my point is that there are emerging opportunities, and women and girls are now being prioritized. So we all need to prepare ourselves for when those opportunities would come up.
Definitely. I so much agree with you. I mean, society in traditional times or in previous times, society has placed women on a certain pedestal, and I believe things are changing. I mean, as I'm moderating this now, I have a baby with me, but I'm still determined to do this. So we need to come with our determination and our authenticity. So, Ms. Kuseme, I mean, aside what Ms. Onyinye has said, do you believe there are other reasons African women are underrepresented in global fellowships or funding?
Thank you. What Ms. Onyinye said is absolutely correct. So yes, currently there are more opportunities than there were 10, 20, 30 years ago. And I think what happens is we have so much imposter syndrome, I can't do it. I usually hear this, and it's research proven that if men are 60% qualified for an opportunity, they will apply. But women always want to be 95 or 99% qualified before they go ahead and apply. So that's one thing. The fact that, I don't feel qualified enough, imposter syndrome, I have it as well. So don't think I don't. I have it. And I think the best of us have it. So imposter syndrome is one of the main reasons, because we always feel like, we're not ready. It's not yet time. I have so much other things I'm doing, or I will not be able to give enough time to it. So that means I don't apply. I think another thing is the lack of knowledge of these opportunities. I have a YouTube channel where I share a lot of information about opportunities out there. And at a point, I felt like, oh, I've been saying this thing over and over again. I'm sure everybody knows. But you still see people come and say, oh, how can I get a scholarship? Oh, how can I get an internship? We have social media, we have internet, we have AI chatbots that you can easily ask questions, but you still hear people saying these things. So it baffles me when I hear people say things like, I don't know where to find opportunities, I don't have, or I don't know how to apply, even when information is out there. So it still goes to show that a lot of people don't have the knowledge, don't have the understanding of where to go and find these opportunities. So another thing that would help is actively seek out for it. And the fact that you're in this session means you're doing the right thing, because I'm sure that you've gotten a lot of insight and you know a lot of places that you can find global opportunities. At the end of this session, we are going to share some websites that you can find these opportunities. So that should no longer be a barrier of, oh, I don't know where to find opportunities. I think another thing would be, I have my notes here. I always take down notes. So another thing would be, for me, I would say inability to position yourself or communicate your value. Knowing or being something is not the same way as communicating your value to another person. I am a achievement scholar. I am a contracts manager. I'm a contracts lawyer. I know that. I don't need to prove it to myself, but I need to be able to communicate that to another person. So if Onyinye is looking for women that have impact in order to get the Women Fellowship in their foundation, and they have stated the criteria, these are the essential criteria, these are the desirable criteria, now submit to application. I could submit my application and not get selected, not because I am not qualified, but because I was not able to communicate my value. Maybe I was boring in my application. I was not able to articulate the value that I would bring to them, appointing me into the fellowship. So when people are not able to communicate their value in the application, that is a barrier. So these are the people that they found the opportunity and they've applied, but they are not selected. So those are the things I have identified so far. There are a lot more, but yeah.
I'm so excited you mentioned knowing how to communicate your value, because just this week I came across a young guy on LinkedIn who has got a new job, and the way he announced the job in the field I find myself in, most of the people get into the multinational pharma companies as medical sales rep. So it's more like a sales or a marketing executive. But the way the guy had written the job description and everything, I took a screenshot and sent to one of my friends and said, I need to meet this guy. The way he's articulated himself, you won't think he's just a marketing executive. Really? What do you mean? If that guy puts that thing in front of me and I have to choose between him and another person, I'll definitely choose that guy. So ladies, we really need to know how to articulate our values and communicate. I'm very excited you mentioned this. We'll just move.
Yeah, I just remember one thing based on what you have said now. I think a lot of people try to beg in their applications. When there are opportunities out there, they are not looking for beggars. Don't come and say, oh, I'm from a very poor background. Please, I need this opportunity. Without this opportunity, I'm nothing. No, you're not. That is not going to persuade me. Well, I don't give people scholarships, but even though I wish I could, but I have applied for a couple of opportunities and I've gotten it. And I don't think begging persuades anybody. Like, whether you beg or not, do you meet the criteria or not? I give an instance. When I finished my master's degree in 2021, I could have come out on LinkedIn and say, oh, I just graduated from master's degree and I need a job now. Please, I am highly job hunting. If you know anybody, if you know any job available, please link me. I didn't do that. When I came out to announce that I have graduated from Queen Mary University of London with an LLM, I said all the things I learned. Oh, I just finished a master's degree and I learned a lot about negotiations, having difficult conversations. I am more competent in contract drafting, international arbitration, and I'll be very glad to provide, to help your organization in these areas. I was not begging, but I'm looking for a job. But when somebody reads that, they'll be like, oh, she positions herself as a thought leader in this industry. And when they are coming into my DM, they are coming to say, are you available to come to our organization? They're not coming to say, oh, we are going to do you a favor. So the way you present your application or the way you communicate your value also matters. You're not begging. Please don't beg.
All right. Thank you. I mean, what you just said leads me. Okay, Miss Onyinye, you want to add something? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to say something. So I guess just taking it from where Kuseme stopped. So it is important that when we reflect, not just when you see opportunity, but before, try and articulate what it is that you are good at. And it doesn't have to be things that every other person is doing. Think about yourself, connect with yourself, pull out the things that are good about you, and make a story out of them. And like I said, keep it as original as it can be. What we also find is that people these days, because of AI, they would go use AI to try and write an application. When you read those applications, they are usually very shallow because it loses the personal story side to it. I would also say it's not okay to beg or to appeal to sympathetic emotions. However, it is also good to tell your stories in a way that is compelling to whoever is reading it. So when I read or I try to shortlist for fellowships, I look at people's historical journey. Where are you coming from? And it is okay if you have never had a fellowship before, no opportunity, low education, all of those things talks about your resilience, if you have worked hard and you are where you are. So it's good to tell your story, but tell it from a positive perspective. So we usually see even persons with disability would come through their applications to say, I have disability, I don't have opportunity. And we as Africans like to talk about our problems, your limitations, how, too many problems. But people who are sitting at that global stage and they are listening to you, what they are asking themselves would be, what opportunities are you seeing in that your problem? And how is it that you want to use the opportunity to solve it? So my point that I want to make is look around your environment where you are. What are the issues that you can find? Which ones are you connected to? Start doing something about it. Tell your stories to yourself. You can have a jotter, whatever it is that you have, that you can journal the things that you're finding, but always think of opportunities rather than problems. Okay, I'll stop here, Grace.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Always think of opportunities rather than problems. I think that brings me to my next question, even though you've mentioned it. I mean, the mindset or habits young women need to develop to be opportunity ready. One, they shouldn't have a mindset of begging. And they shouldn't also have a mindset of seeing problems all the time. But do you want to add anything further? I mean, what mindset or habits should young women develop to be opportunity ready? So I'll start with Ms. Onyinye.
Okay, great. So maybe I can tell my own story, how I got here briefly. So I when I was in university, I went to UNN. I didn't in Nusuka, and I have very limited opportunity of how the world works. Before then, I didn't know that I read political science quite all right. So I understood that there are global platforms, but I didn't know where they are and how to find them. However, the principle and the value that I had was that whatever your hand finds to do it well, no matter what it is. And because I also grew out of that society that teaches you to look for how to solve problems. So in my neighborhood, I find that, when our parents go to work, young girls are sometimes a bit stranded, they don't know what to do, and men and boys can take advantage of them. So even in my year one, I started thinking of how do I protect these other younger girls in the neighborhood? And I will gather them, I'll use my lunch money and buy them biscuits, take them to the zoo, take them to Motherless Baby. And we just were having fun. I didn't know that that was charting a course for me in life. So when I left school, I finished serving. I was still thinking, where can I find young people to help them, to just teach them? Not like I had much to offer, but even that little that you have. I read Ben Carson's book and I saw how transformative working hard, reading, and all of that, changed his life. So I said, okay, I'll buy those books, I'll go to inner communities, and I will share, only for me to get an opportunity in an NGO. Before then, I never saw an NGO in my life. And they were like, oh, they are working in one inner community in Lagos, in Ajegunle, for those who know, and they need somebody. I jumped at it because this is all that I've been doing. And to cut the long story short, I did that work in a secondary school, just mentor young people, talk to them. And like I said, I didn't know much, but from the little that I had, I was willing to share and to offer. I remember those days when I go to those communities, my colleagues would be laughing. Like, look at this one. Your mates are looking for global opportunities. You're going to one rural community to go and play with children. And they say I used to do form a circle, and they laugh at me. But like I said, whatever your hand finds to do, don't look at it that, oh, it's not going to take you anywhere. You never know. Just do it with all your passion and with all your heart. Long story short was that at one point, some group in Netherlands said they want to do a documentary, and they came to Nigeria. They're looking for inner community where young people are doing stuff. That's how I ventured into my own global stage. They came to that community in one school where I was doing work, and they said, oh, we need somebody to come to South Africa to speak. You're doing an amazing work in that school. That's how they carried me. And my colleagues were like, oh, this form a circle has become something. That's how I went to a global conference for the first time in my life, and I spoke. But from then on, opportunities started finding me. I didn't think it was anything serious. They asked me to write it in a book, to talk about what I have done, and I started to grow from there until I got to Ford. I also had a scholarship like Kuseme, Commonwealth Scholarship, that took me to study in Oxford. And I didn't say anything that is out of this world. What I said was my little beginning, the journey, and how that has inspired me to want to influence more and more young people, encourage them using that my local experience. And you would think that it is nothing, but that's what has taken me everywhere that I have been and up until today. So my point is, do not belittle the experiences that you have. Make sure that you package them well and you're confident that that's the one that God has given you, and that's the one that you have to use to travel the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Onyinye. Do not belittle the experiences that God has given you. Miss Kuseme, would you like to add on to the mindset or habits young women must develop to be opportunity ready? I know you've said a lot, but do you have any other, maybe one thing?
I would say, just like what Onyinye has said, I would say have a problem-solving mindset. I know she has mentioned that already. And I heard somebody in the comments said it looks like all the speakers have been to Ivy League schools. And what you need to know is that I did not wake up one morning and I found myself in London studying a master's degree. Onyinye has shared her story, how she started. It's that simple. In your environment, what problem are you seeing and how are you seeing it? Are you seeing it as a stumbling block or are you seeing as an opportunity to solve a problem? How did I get a scholarship? Do you think that, do you know the uni I went to? The uni, if I mention the name, you probably don't know because I grew up in my state. And if I tell you that I grew up in a university that nobody had first class in law school, you should know that it's very bad. So it's not like we wake up and we get global opportunities. You start, there are opportunities in different stages. You start from where you are. You start volunteering. From volunteering, you start you go into internships. You don't just wake up and find things. So where you are, have a problem-solving mindset. I remember when I was in uni, that same uni that I said nobody knows. I was part of what we call the law clinic. And why was I part of the law clinic? I was just bothered about the fact that our court cases take such a long time, and then people in rural communities really could not do anything. If somebody snatches their land, that's all. They don't have money to go to court, and if they go to court, it will stay there forever and ever. So what did I do? I told our head of department, let's go to rural communities and start talking to them about alternative dispute resolution, why they should find other ways to resolve their disputes. If you're having family issues, you can go to the local government council. That was us solving problem in uni. I was in year 3. In uni, we didn't need anything much. Some of us will contribute our money for transportation and snacks, because when you gather these people, you're going to at least give them snacks so that they would listen to you. Sometimes our lecturer will give us money, add to our money so that we can buy things for them. We used to enter keke, we'll go there, come back. That was what we could do at that stage, right? Now, when I wanted to apply for my first opportunity, which was after I came out of law school, it was an internship that I did. It was a professional boot camp in Lagos. That was the example I used to apply. Okay, because usually applications will ask you, yes, you have all these aspirations. What have you done previously in your own space? Onyinye will not get the opportunity to go and speak in Netherlands if she did not do what she was doing at her. So you don't even need to spend a lot of money. You don't need to have a big platform. What are you doing where you are? So that was the example I used. I was showing that, I'm very passionate about advocacy, especially different dispute resolution advocacy. I don't like contentment. I'm a lawyer, and the first thing that Nigerians hear when they hear lawyer is disputes. They want to fight. They want to argue. And I'm a very different person. So whenever I used to hear that narrative, I was so uncomfortable. I knew that I wanted amicable dispute resolution. This has always been in my head right from day one. So every time I found opportunity, I talked about it. If my lecturer says, do you want to write an article on it? I say, yes, I'll write an article. I'll give somebody to review. I'll publish it, find a place to publish it. It doesn't even have to be a good journal. I'll publish it, alternative dispute resolution in my little corner. That was how I started getting a little opportunity. And as you get these opportunities, you gather them, right? They pile up. And before you know it, you are able to go to a place where, based on what you have gathered, it should take you there. So they are in stages. Don't think that because you've not gone to an Ivy League school, you cannot access opportunities. There are some opportunities that don't need people that that are at Ivy League schools. There are some opportunities that if you've been to Ivy League school, they'll be like, we cannot help you. This is not So no matter where you are, there is an opportunity for you. So have a problem-solving mindset. See what you can solve, especially something that really bugs you a lot. If you're really upset about something every time you see it, it means you probably have a passion to solving it. So what can you do from where you are? So have a problem-solving mindset. I think that's what I can say to that.
Thank you so much, Kuseme. In fact, I really wanted to address that comment in the comment section. So I'm very glad you did it before I even had the opportunity to. So thank you all for the mindset and habits you've shared with us. So moving on, I know we've said a lot. Maybe can you just highlight 2 or 3 global opportunities that young women watching us now should be looking out for? Just 2 or 3, and I can add on as well.
Well, I have a lot. The thing is, there's a lot of opportunities out there, but I can say I was a Chevening scholar. So Chevening scholarship usually opens in August of every year. So that's out there. There's Mandela Washington Fellow. The speaker who came before us is a Mandela Washington Fellow. Apply to that. There's UN internships. Usually UN runs internships, like 6 weeks internships all year round online. So you can start with those, right? And also volunteering opportunities. I know that there are websites, but there's one that I just saw right now. It's called African Women in Data Science Fellowship. So that one is still open. So just apply to any of those that you can find.
Okay. So from the Ford Foundation point of view, I know you mentioned the Ford Global Fellowship. Myself, I've written it down. I'll go look at it. Are there any others you may want young ladies here to look out for?
Okay. Yeah, there is the African Young Women Leaders program, but it's also about your specific area of interest. So there are areas where, if you're into social justice, there's the AUC, UNDP, African Young Women's Leaders Fellowship. There is also the AU Go Girl Innovation Initiative. I don't know the timelines for when the opportunities come up. But however, I wanted to also say that if you're in Nigeria, there is also Leap Africa that talks about leadership. I don't know the full meaning, but they have some small grants that they provide for young people who have creative ideas. Leap Africa is regional, so they work across some countries in Africa. I emphasize it because it could be a place where you can prepare yourself for global opportunities. And preparation is important. Sorry that I digress. I'm saying this because when you get to global platforms, you may struggle if you did not make good use of the platforms that you have now. And so, as you're starting small, prepare yourself for where you're headed. Because I know that studying in Ivy League school, Kuseme can emphasize that, is very challenging. So, you may need to work extra hard so that when you get into those platforms, you don't become she said we all have imposter syndrome, so global platforms can swallow you if you do not prepare yourself, build your confidence, get ready, and then so that when you get into such places you can also shine bright light. I wanted to put that out.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to add that, I mean, Leap, I just finished I was accepted for the Leap Africa, the virtual session. You know, there's a virtual session before they select some. I just finished taking the course and it was so insightful. I mean, despite where I am in my career, some of the things was building executive presence, navigating organizational politics. I was like, wow, it's not only for early career professionals, even mid-career professionals or wherever you are in your career. I think you should apply for Leap next year, and you'll be happy you did. I think if you're in Ghana as well, you can also look at Onyinye Global Fellowship. Unfortunately, because of the USA stop work order, the Young African Leadership Initiative Regional Leadership Center has been put on hold. We don't know what will happen in the future, but should they come back, it's also a very good opportunity for up and coming leaders. So these are some of the few opportunities you can.
Grace, if I could just add, I just remember that McKinsey Consulting, they usually offer online internships as well.
Yeah.
Very impactful. I did that as well. Then there's Tony Elumelu Foundation for creatives and people who want to set up businesses. There are opportunities everywhere, to be honest. And most times your first bet should not probably just be applying for an opportunity outside the country. Try to utilize the ones inside because they will prepare you for the ones outside.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, talking about McKinsey, I also took a virtual program, the Forward program.
Yeah, that's the one.
We have learned so much. Yes, so you can all take a look at it. Now, Kuseme, I mean, Chevening Scholar, what are your top tips for writing applications that stand out? Whether it's for grants, maybe you can answer for grants, and then Onyinye can answer for fellowships. I mean, since she's with Ford, and she might have seen some of the fellowship applications. So, Kuseme.
Top tips. Well, I am not at the reviewing end, so you should ask me
what you did. Tell us what you did.
I would say that the first or the only thing I usually tell people is writing your application in the STAR approach is a way of being able to communicate your value very succinctly, right? Global opportunities that is very competitive. And if I receive 1,000 applications and I need to sort down to like 50 candidates, I would try to eliminate as much as I can based on very little insignificant things. Now, what would you do to really help your application to stand out? Use the STAR approach. That's what I was taught when I was applying for Chevening Scholarship. That's what got me in. That's what got me into uni abroad. That's what got me my current job. So it has always worked for me. So what is a STAR approach? Situation, the task, action, and result. So every time you want to write something, you want to present, or you want to answer a question, for instance, you say, what are the challenges you're facing in your industry, and how do you think you're going to overcome these challenges when you get this fellowship or when you get this scholarship? So the situation is the challenge, right? Oh, let me use, for instance, there's a lot of delay in the legal system in Nigeria. Disputes are not resolved easily. That's a challenge. Okay, what is the task? The task is we're going to find different ways to optimize the legal system in a way that will allow people to go to alternative means of dispute resolution. What action did you take? Okay, I started advocacy. I started speaking to my colleagues in school. I rallied around. I spoke to my lecturers who supported me in writing policy briefs, and we presented it to maybe this organization or this government body. What was the result? The result was that government, or let me not even use government because they'll say that I'm talking about bigger platforms. So the result was that people had awareness of the fact that apart from going to court, I can go to my community leader to resolve my dispute. People had awareness, at least not your result doesn't always have to be 100% you've gotten it. It could just be the fact that people are now aware of what is happening, or people now have the knowledge of the different dispute resolution mechanisms that are out there. So that's the easiest way to explain the STAR approach, because it means as I'm reading that application, I understand what the situation was. I even understand that you, the writer or the applicant, you know the problem and you know what you're looking out for, you know the steps to take and what results you're looking out for. Because somebody talked about SMART goals, you must always be able to measure the results. Even if it's not the peak result, at least what has changed. What has changed? So that's the STAR approach. I think that's one way to be able to communicate your value. I'm sure that Onyinye has others.
Definitely. I mean, the STAR approach is even very helpful in interviews and in so many other things, you know.
In everything that I use that everywhere and it works. So
definitely. Okay, so Onyinye, you mentioned authenticity earlier, but I mean, I want you to, from your years of experience, what top tips would you give us to stand out?
Okay, so I will talk about the grants, the process to writing grants, but also what we look out for in applications. But where I have been an applicant, right? So to put it out, Kuseme, I tried Chevening many years ago. I got to the last phase and I didn't succeed. So I thought I had lost all opportunity to go to school abroad. Like 10 years down the line, I tried Oxford Commonwealth Scholarship to 2021 and I got it. And what did I do? I didn't know the STAR. I'm just learning it now as you're even explaining. So thank you for that. However, what I know is that the simplest way to learn is to ask yourself, I'm trying to apply for Commonwealth Scholarship. What do they require? You may read the application, but your own interpretation of it may not be as apt as you think it should be. So I did the basic thing. I went on YouTube and I said, applying for Commonwealth scholarship. People who had done it before, that had content online, that had done video, the type of questions they were asked, the things to look out for, their own mistakes, they said everything. So I listened to as many as I could find. And then I wrote down the tips. So I used the tips. I came down to my own story and I was using that as a guide to write. I'm saying this to tell anyone who doesn't already have a methodology to responding to applications. You could also leverage on what other people have, but that's only a guide to what you need to do. So coming back to Ford and how we approach applications, first and foremost is that you have to know yourself. So the type of questions we ask would be things like, what is your leadership style? So you have to know how you lead, why you lead, what it is that you want to do. I like what Kuseme said about what have you done. So we ask questions, talk about your experiences in leading, because we are looking for young, under-resourced leaders, which is where most of us will fall in. What have you done with your own leadership opportunity? It could be in your family, in your school, in your church, but we want to know the qualities that you exhibit as a leader. The other thing will be, how many people would our investments in you influence? So if you're just thinking about you want opportunity to go to school, to be in global platforms, that's okay, but nobody is interested in growing one person. We would rather invest in somebody who thinks that her contribution will influence many more people, no matter how small you want to begin. So you can talk about how if you get exposed to this opportunity, you will cascade whatever it is you learn in your village, in your community. So the person will be like, okay, you have a big mindset. I think the other thing is you also have to talk about when you failed. So there is a way in which we think that failure is a waste. No, failure actually tells people that you're authentic. and that you understand your journey, and that if you fail, you're also willing to work at it and to develop progressively. So you can talk about the time that you failed as a leader, but then cap it with what did you then do? What did you learn? And what did you do afterwards? So those are important things that we also look out for. I think that would be it. But for proposals, the STAR method that Kuseme said we would always apply. I didn't know it was called STAR, but we would like you to identify the problem that you are looking to solve. But that problem, look at it from a broader perspective. Like don't assume that your solution is the only solution. There are other people who have attempted to address that problem. What is it that they have done? It shows us that you are aware, you're socially aware of what is going on. But then where are the gaps that still exist, even with all those solutions? What do you think you can do? So it's like literature review, where you're asked to add your own contribution to, to literature. So what is it that you want to add to solving that bigger problem? Because no one person can address all the problems. Then the second thing would be, how long will it take you to solve? So people write proposals that are unrealistic, and they forget that the person reviewing it is a human being living in the society that you're talking about and understands the issue. So you cannot tell me that you will solve educational problem in 1 year if I give you $10,000. That's not true. So what is it that you can do realistically in 1 year? Put it down. And if we feel that, oh, 1 year is not enough, we can say, okay, you can take 2 years and do it. How much do you require to solve this problem? People would pad the budget, thinking that it is how lofty it sounds. No, it is actually how realistic. And we like people who say, this is the chunk I want to take. I will take it as a pilot. If I'm able to solve it, I will then expand it. But however, this is what I would require to solve it, as realistic as that can be. The donor will read it and say, oh, this person, how do you think that $10,000 will solve your problem? Okay, let's give you 20. We'll sit with you, have a conversation and tell you. But if you come and tell me you need $100 billion to solve one problem in your village, what is the difference between you and the politicians that we are crying about? So my point is, remember that whoever is reviewing your application is human. They've gone through your process, that type of journey, and also that they have emotions. I know I'm taking time, but I just also wanted to buttress this point. The person reviewing it is human and they have emotions. So when you're writing, think as if you're writing to yourself. If I'm the one reading this, what would I be thinking? So you write to me about a problem. Tell me how it is that this problem would solve, the needs of other people in the society. Appeal to that part of the human mind that suggests that, oh, people are dying in Benue State or in Ghana, and because they don't have water. I may not know the issue, but the moment you talk about this number of children will be affected if we don't solve this problem, and I know my village, and I know that without water in my village, things will go wrong. So connect it with reality that whoever is reading it is able to relate with. And then, like I said, tell your own story. If you also have like a period where you took water, for example, and you had diarrhea, spend time in the hospital, or your cousin or your somebody that you know, or your friend, talk about it. It adds up to telling the story that you're not just copying and pasting a problem, but you're dealing with an issue that you understand very, very well. So your ability to understand the problem, communicate it effectively, connect to the emotion of the reader, be realistic with your expectations and what it is that you're able to do. All of that put together would give you at least an opportunity to be shortlisted. Okay, let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. You've said so much. My takeaway is that remember the person reviewing the application is human. So be realistic. Now, to wrap this up, I want to tie this question into a comment I just saw in the chat, and then I'll give my answer, and then I want to hear from around the table. What's one myth you'd like to bust about accessing global platforms? And I want to tie into this question Deborah is asking in the chat. What if you feel it's too late to make excellent grades that can get you a first class? Are there opportunities you can get even without the excellent grades? Deborah, I can confidently tell you that a very big yes. So one myth I want to bust personally before I even ask my panelists is that you don't need to always have a first class. As I said, I didn't even make a second class upper in pharmacy school. Yes. And I've had some opportunities where I start applying and they ask, did you get a first class or second class upper? And when you put there no, they tell you, then you can't continue. And I said, okay, that's fine. But I've also had very good opportunities as well. As I said, I've worked with multinationals all my life. Pfizer, Chemonix, Novartis. I didn't make a first class, but I found ways and means of adding value to myself. I found ways and means of taking other certificate courses from other schools. I found ways and means of sharpening my soft skills, my communication skills, my people management skills, my strategic negotiations, my engagement, stakeholder management, such that by the time I'm speaking to you, you're not only looking at my certificate, you're looking at the whole package. Should I let this person go because she did not have a first class that she studied book? No. It's what I studied in the books. I have to find ways and means of communicating that to you. And if I'm not able to communicate that to you, then I'm of no value. So my dear Deborah, it's not too late. You can always find other means and ways of adding value. You don't always need a first class. We are very happy Kuseme had a first class and she's our inspiration. But if you are like me and you didn't have a first class, it's not too late, my dear. You can always find other ways and means of making it. So I'll take you to Kuseme and then Onyinye, and that will be the conclusion. So
Thank you,
minute,
Grace.
and add your closing remarks. I see our live studio person is here, so we have to conclude.
Thank you, Grace. The funny part is I had that myth that you just said in my list. My first myth was you don't need a first class to get opportunities. There are so many opportunities that you'll find, and the criteria has nothing to do with academic grades. So what are you going to do if you have a first class and you don't have any other thing to show for it, and you want to apply for an opportunity that does not look for academic grade? What are you going to do? You're going to be stuck. So that's not even it at all. I think for me, I would say you don't need a leadership title to be a leader. I'm saying this from the perspective of Chevening Scholarship. If you want to apply for Chevening Scholarship, just like Onyinye said, I'm that kind of person that have put out every content out there on YouTube, from application to interview, on how you can become a Chevening scholar. So you usually, most of like Chevening Scholarship, Commonwealth, they'll want you to be a leader. And in their definition, a leader is just basically someone who is able to make impact, someone who is able to influence others to take action. And some people will see that and think, oh, I needed to be a president of my student union. I needed to be a senior of this. No, you don't need that title. We don't look at the title. It is say you have the title, what have you done with it? So it's majorly the impact that you have made in your little corner that matters, not the title that you hold.
Thank you so much, Kuseme. Indeed, I read something over the week that said leadership doesn't always come with titles. And truly, it's not about the title, the impact you make. So that's very timely. So, Onyinye, over to you. What's one myth you want to bust?
Thank you. At the risk of sounding very spiritual, the God factor is so powerful, and I think we undermine it. Sometimes before I write, I would pray. And what that does, I have seen where the strictest person in our team who would stick to highest standard will say, oh, yes, I know this person's application is not strong. I know that they didn't, but let's give her a chance. And we have clear criteria that we say if you don't have, you're not going to be selected. And people will make a case, and before you know it, the person gets an opportunity. So my point is, don't ever think that you do not belong or you do not qualify. All that you have to keep in mind is every opportunity you see, take it prayerfully. Do your best at doing what you know you should do it well, and leave the rest. You never know, who would be on the other side. So don't stop yourself before they stop you. My point is, take every opportunity you see, give it your best shot, pray about it, and you may land yourself the best opportunity ever.
Thank you so much, ladies. I have so much enjoyed moderating this session. Don't stop yourself before they stop you. I love it. I've learned so much from here. I believe we all have. One thing I'm taking away is knowing how to communicate your value, being authentic in your applications, using the STAR approach: situation, the task, the approach, the result, and you not necessarily having an excellent grade or being academically top notch to apply for opportunities. I've learned so much. Thank you so much, Miss Onyinye. Thank you so much, Miss Kuseme. And I believe every other person here has learned a lot. Thank you again, and please do enjoy the rest of the sessions. I hand over to you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much,